The ecosystem is a complex interconnected network composed of biotic and abiotic elements. Biotic elements include all living organisms such as plants, animals, and microorganisms, while on the other hand, abiotic components include the non-living entities that are vital for the survival of life, and these include soil, water, climate, and etc. Fauna, which is classified as a biotic element, represents the animal life within a specified time, period, and region. It comprises a variety of animal life forms which is classified into different groups. Animals play an important role in mediating carbon exchange between ecosystems and the atmosphere through ingestion, digestion, breathing, and decomposition. When herbivores and omnivores eat plants, and when another animal eats them, the carbon-containing molecules which are stored in their bodies are broken down to make energy through the process of cellular respiration. One of the products of respiration is carbon dioxide, which is released and re-enters the atmosphere and the oceans. The constant back and forth exchange of carbon between plants and the animals is a major part of the carbon cycle on Earth.
What is a fauna? Fauna are all of the animals of any particular region or time period considered as a group. The term is contrasted with flora, which refers to all of the plant life in a particular region or during a stated period of time. Here are the different types of faunas. Microfauna are microscopic and very small animals. These are animals that cannot be seen by the naked eye. Meiofauna are small benthic invertebrates that live in both marine and freshwater environments. Macrofauna are larger benthic or soil organisms. Mesofauna are macrosoil invertebrates of intermediate size. Megafauna is a subdivision of those animals that are considered large. Cryofauna are animals that lived in or very close to cold areas. Cryptofauna are the fauna that exists in protected or concealed microhabitats. Infauna are the aquatic animals that live on the bottom of substratum.
Invasive species, large or small, holds the capacity to bring devastating impacts on the environment. Not only will it negatively affect the economy and society, around 42% of the animals, especially the endangered species, are at huge risk of being extinct. With that said, this kind of species shouldn't be looked upon, for they are among the leading threats to native wildlife. In 2007, a huge cane toad, over 8 inches long and weighed nearly 2 pounds, was captured. From Central and South America, it has been imported to several islands all over the world, like Florida, Philippines, Japan, Caribbean, Hawaii, and more. The farmers thought it would be the tool in wiping out local pests, but it backfired. The toxins from the skin of the cane toad killed a lot of animals, and it would lay thousands of eggs each year. In 1935, it was only 102 cane toads. Fast forward to 2010, its population is estimated to be around 1.5 billion, spreading over 386,100 square miles, and shows no signs that its number will decline soon. You may wonder how invasive species are considered a serious problem to the environment. Based on the earlier definition of this species, they are foreign and it can be any kind of living organism. They are brought to an environment that is not accustomed to their presence. Thus, it is possible this invasive species may attack the native species, outcompete native species for food or other resources, cause or carry disease, or stop native species from reproducing. These are only direct threats that can be brought by this awful kind of species. Indirect threats include disrupting the food web in an ecosystem, destroying or replacing native food sources, changing the abundance or diversity of species, or altering the conditions in an ecosystem. There is no doubt invasive species are bad news for the environment.
Studying gene behavior and epigenetics may play significant roles in researching what genes are important for adaptation. Knowing what genes are important for could help determine conservation efforts such as selective breeding programs or even genetic engineering to push evolution in the right direction. In these ways, studying epigenetics could play a vital role in species conservation. There are developments of an evolving conservation tool that could help pull endangered species from the brink of extinction: genetic rescue. It works by adding genetic diversity to these kinds of precariously numbered populations by introducing specific individuals or potentially by someday directly editing their genes. Many researchers are turning to genetic rescue as a viable tool to pull the most vulnerable species from the brink of extinction. In the more distant future, some scientists think we might be able to go further, genetically modifying animals to become better suited to the rapidly changing environments. Sounds fairly straightforward, right? Unfortunately, playing a genetic deity isn't that simple. There is much controversy regarding the ethical premises and is still up for debate. For now, researchers generally agree that traditional genetic rescue without genetic modification offers the most immediate conservation solution. However, genetic rescue will never be the end-all solution to saving degrading populations. Instead, it offers a stopgap opportunity to deal with other overlying issues.
Anthropogenic effects on fauna. Every living creature requires space to live and to reproduce. The natural environment of a plant, animal, or other species is known as its habitat, and it is vital that this be preserved for the ongoing survival of both individuals and species. Unfortunately, due to the impacts of most human activities, a significant number of habitats of animal species are at risk. Loss of habitat contributes to the irreparable loss of species, weakened ecosystems, and the overall health of the planet and quality of human life. Human activity is by far the biggest cause of habitat loss. At the same time, human impacts on the Earth's climate are radically altering weather patterns and subsequently the distribution and existence of wildlife. The primary cause of habitat loss is the clearing of land for agriculture. However, the loss of other natural environments, such as wetlands and lakes, also destroy or damage habitats, as do other human activities, such as introducing invasive species, polluting, trading in wildlife, and engaging in wars. Over time, degradation of such habitats leads to reduced biodiversity, weakening the Earth's ecosystems, and eventually posing a major threat to human life. However, although there has been a significant loss of habitats, and along with them various species of animals, steps can be taken to slow down and even reverse the process. One key measure is the establishment of protected areas where human activity is restricted in order to conserve existing ecosystems and wildlife. Furthermore, here are 10 ways to save our fauna. Adopt. Symbolic adoptions help fund organizations. Volunteer, help clean habitats, rescue wild animals, or teach visitors. Visit, learn more about our planet's species from experts. Donate. Donations help maintain conservation areas. Speak up. Voice out your passion for wildlife conservation. Buy responsibly. Help put a stop to wildlife trafficking. Pitch in. Do your part to keep the environment safe and sustainable. Recycle. Find new ways to use things within your reach and encourage others to do the same. Restore. Habitat destruction threatens almost all species. Help reduce this threat by restoring their homes. And join. Be active. Stay informed. As humans, it is our responsibility to preserve and maintain the beauty of our fauna. Do your part and lend a helping hand.
The carbon cycle. Carbon is an element found in many different forms and locations within our Earth and atmosphere. It is found abundantly in living organisms. Carbon is referred to as the chemical backbone of life on Earth, since carbon compounds regulate the Earth's temperature, make up the food that sustains us, and provide energy that fuels our global economy. What is the carbon cycle and how does the process work? Carbon cycle is a process where carbon compounds are interchanged among the biosphere, geosphere, pedosphere, hydrosphere, and the atmosphere of the Earth. It is essentially nature's way of reusing carbon atoms in different ways in varying places, which involves the incorporation of carbon dioxide into living tissue by photosynthesis and its return to the atmosphere through respiration and the decay of dead organisms and the burning of fossil fuels. Following are the major steps involved in the process of the carbon cycle. Carbon present in the atmosphere is absorbed by plants for photosynthesis. They use energy from the sun to chemically combine carbon dioxide with hydrogen and oxygen from water to create sugar molecules. These plants are then consumed by animals, and carbon gets bioaccumulated into their bodies. These animals and plants eventually die, and upon decomposing, carbon is released back into the atmosphere. Respiration, excretion, and decomposition release the carbon back into the atmosphere or soil, continuing the cycle. Some of the carbon that is not released back into the atmosphere eventually becomes fossil fuels. These fossil fuels are then used for man-made activities, which pumps more carbon back into the atmosphere. Carbon cycle can be classified into two types based on the duration of the process: the short term and the long term. Short term. This type occurs within a relatively short period of time. It is named as such because it takes just days, months, or years for carbon to flow across the various carbon reservoirs. Long term. This type takes thousands of years to occur. The excess carbon from the short-term cycle is stored for a long time before they are released. Note: how do humans affect the carbon cycle? Human activities have a tremendous impact on the carbon cycle. Activities such as the burning of fossil fuels and deforestation have begun to have an effect on the carbon cycle and the rise of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere through emissions of carbon dioxide and removal of carbon dioxides. The following are the human influences on the global carbon cycle: burning of fossil fuels, carbon sequestration, deforestation, geologic sequestration. About half the carbon emitted by human activity rises into the atmosphere, where it helps contribute to global warming. The other half is absorbed by oceans that lowers the ocean's pH through a process called ocean acidification. It also affects watersheds and plants as part of what's known as the carbon sink. The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is rapidly rising. It is already considerably greater than at any time in the last 800,000, which is detrimental to the world and the species that lives within.
Save
The animals.